Hello, my name is Saevil. I'm an Indigenous woman from Treaty 6 territory. I'm Cree. My mother came from Mistawassus First Nation in Saskatchewan, and she's a residential school survivor. I'm honored here to talk to you today about the Orange Crosswalk, as well as the importance of National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. My mom has been in a residential school for almost 9 years of her life, so I know very well the effects of residential school had on her. I also know the historical traumas that were placed on her and her family, as well as Indigenous people in Canada. Most of us don't know very much about Indigenous people here. We weren't taught that in school. You know, here today I'm proudly wearing my ribbon skirt. It represents missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It represents the care of the water, that we all have a responsibility to look after the water. But most importantly, it also represents the children that never made home. And had I wore this skirt when I was a young kid going to school, I would have been chastised and I would have been sent home because I'm not allowed to wear skirts like this. I'm also a 60 scoop kid. So I too was also kidnapped from my mom in school. Funny that is, you know, when school is supposed to be a safe place for kids. I never got to say goodbye to my mother, and I never saw her for probably 8 years of my life until I went home when I was in grade 3. So there's that very important stage in life where you learn an awful lot when you're a young child and you take it to your adulthood. This was a genocide that was committed in Canada. And we must understand that, and we must rally together as Canadians to see what we can do to make Canada a more understanding country when it comes to Indigenous people. But please remember that this history was also kept from you. We know as Canadians that if we knew that young kids were being kidnapped from their home, taken to residential school and not being returned, I truly believe that Canadians would have rallied up and said, enough, these are children that are being taken away. You know, the Orange Crosswalk that we have here in Oakville was done through community, asking the town and the councillors to make that commemorative space for the Orange Crosswalk. We know that that crosswalk represents all the children that went to residential school right across the country. It is not a territory and it's not a land acknowledgement. It is to honor the children that went to school, those children that never came home, and the children that are still finding their way to their families. We stand here very humble. I stand here always trying to spread the message of hope, of peace, of understanding, because we all have a role in the truth and reconciliation. We all have a role in understanding what those orange crosswalks mean. We all have a role when it comes to September 30th, but it has to go beyond September 30th. There's so many things that we can do as Canadians to learn a little bit more about the truth and reconciliation. One of the things is to read the calls for action. Another thing that I think that people should read is 21 Things You Didn't Know About the Indian Act, so that you get a better idea of the oppressive laws that Indigenous people faced on a regular basis. But we also have fantastic resources here in Oakville, fantastic resources that we've worked collaboratively at the library. We continue to have awareness days or even showing films where it features Indigenous people. All we're asking you to do is come along, come for the journey, come for the learning. Miigwech.